Hi, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining TIV Talk, Protivity's external webinar series. We are excited to bring to you part one of a three-part series today about careers within our internal audit and financial advisory practice. This series is designed to offer insight into the work that we do, opportunities we offer, and the uniqueness of our career paths. My name is Emily Schmidt, and I am the Internal Audit and Financial Advisory Recruiting Lead for Protivity in North America, and I am based out of our Chicago office. Today, I'm joined by some of my colleagues in Philadelphia, Chicago, and Charlotte. Let's start with some brief introductions, and we can begin with Monica DeBellis. So, Monica, can you tell us a little bit about your career at Protivity, as well as a career highlight?
Great. Thank you, Emily. I'm very happy for the opportunity to share with you all today. As Emily said, my name is Monica DeBellis. I'm a managing director out of our Philadelphia office in our internal audit and financial advisory practice. My industry focus happens to be on financial services. I oversee the East region for our internal audit solution, reporting up to our global lead, who happens to sit here in the East as well. From a career highlight perspective, in January of 2020, right before the pandemic, I was asked to join our first executive team advisory council, which gave me a great opportunity to learn our inner workings as an organization. So I had always been on the client side of things, interacting with our people and our teams as we execute on client work, interacting with our clients and their teams as they have needs and have opportunities, projects for us to come and weigh in on and support. And I had never really spent much time thinking about the inner workings of Protivity and all of the various functions that support our execution teams. And I had a great opportunity to get a deeper understanding of why we do what we do, and why sometimes we don't do it as well as maybe we would like to. So it gave me a lot of insights on how maybe we can make things better, because we internally, as well as with our clients, always iterate on how do we do our things better, our processes more efficiently. So that was my career highlight.
Okay, great. Thank you. Can we hear from James?
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. I'm James Pan, the director based in our Chicago office and part of our internal audit and financial advisory practice focused on technology. Over the past 14 years, I've had the privilege of growing my career here and partnering with amazing colleagues and clients across a wide range of industries. One of my most memorable career highlight has been facilitating Protivity's Intern Challenge. Last year, for example, we brought over hundreds of interns and facilitators from across the nation in San Antonio for a very immersive experience that really strongly represents our culture of collaboration and learning. It's always really incredible and refreshing to engage with such enthusiastic and curious early professionals, and their energy and perspectives are a really great reminder of the importance of developing future leaders.
Thank you, James. And Erica.
Hi, everyone. My name is Erica Ray. I'm based in Charlotte, North Carolina. I lead our financial services practice for internal audit and have been with Protivity for about 6.5 years now. Prior to joining Protivity, I spent 10 years at PwC and 7 years in industry, all focused in the internal audit space. And so in addition to my leadership role, I also work with our teams to advise and provide transformation services to audit functions. So all the things that we do for our clients that help them run their internal audit functions better and improve the operations. As a career highlight, I'm one of the few in our practice that has been both client and consultant. So I actually have bought services from Protivity in my prior life. So it's really nice to be able to sit kind of on the other side of the desk with colleagues that I worked with as a client, and now be able to deliver services to other clients alongside them.
Thank you for those introductions. Today's topic is Beyond Controls, Exploring the Depths of an Internal Audit Career. And this is designed to provide insight into the broad spectrum of work that we do within our internal audit and financial advisory practice, the skills our people grow, and the projects our careers provide exposure to. So this is an interactive webinar, so please use Q&A function to submit any questions that you might have. We will have designated time at the end to answer a few of those. So Monica, let's have you start us off. Can you share just a high-level overview of the internal audit and financial advisory solution at Protiviti and how we are structured?
Sure, thank you. If you think about internal audit, what is that? Many of you coming out of college might not understand how do we view an organization and where does internal audit fit? So we view an organization as having three lines of defense. There's the first line, which if it's a direct to consumer type organization, that's really that sales function, that M&D function, right? Direct to customer, anything that's customer facing in the operations, the core operations of the company. That second line might be more legal, maybe tech risk, like how do we prevent and harden our networks, might be legal as far as like any kind of legal actions or compliance issues that we might want to take care of. HR would sit in that line, setting up policies and procedures, setting up that governance function within the organization. And then we as internal audit would sit on that third line, which is the independent view. And in that role would take a look from the top as to how are all of those other functions operating. If it's an organization that has high compliance requirements out there, how do we fit into those compliance requirements and are we complying? From a design perspective, what are our policies and procedures? What's the governance aspects? Are we actually are they designed effectively up to the standards that are out there from an industry perspective? On the front line, how are we interacting with our consumers? Are we doing that appropriately, effectively, efficiently? Those are the different tiers that we tend to look at under that internal audit lens. It's not always just financial. There's that operational and that compliance aspect as well. So from an audit perspective, we're looking kind of top side down at all of the different levels. And I would also say that initial pass is design, but the second pass is let's do a test of controls. So let's take a look at, you might have said this is how we've set things up, but let's test that from either a transaction perspective or taking a look or a deep dive at your policy to see if what you say is actually what we find in our testing output and the outcomes that are put together. So that's really what audit does. I would say our internal audit umbrella takes a look at the tech side of things with the applications and how things work within the systems, as well as the process side of things. And when we're looking for professionals, we don't necessarily want to focus on somebody who has knowledge in just one. We want the professional that kind of looks at both sides, because you really do need to understand how do the processes work, but also how does the system and the system controls and the applications work to help facilitate that process. How do they intermingle and how do I have the full picture? So in my mind, that covers kind of internal audit, that covers the business process, that tech segment. From a financial advisory perspective, we do grow up from a firm that has a bunch of CPAs. We have a huge view in the financial reporting aspect of things. We do a lot of Sarbanes-Oxley compliance work, both setting up an organization before they go public, and then also considering, hey, are they in compliance with the Sarbanes-Oxley Act and what they need to deliver on after going public? So that covers the different functions at a very high level, but I can dive into specifically the business process side as well.
Yeah, that would be great, Monica. If you could share just what type of work the business process internal audit segment members really focus on.
Right. So apart from, I mentioned the tech and the applications, and there's a lot of great things that I know James will cover in a little bit on that tech side of things. But when we're looking at just the processes, we're not just looking at checking the box and making sure that you comply with policies and procedures, but we're always looking at what are the industry standards out there, whether it's financial services, healthcare, whatever, maybe it's tech, whatever it is that you're that company happens to be in that space. We're looking at what are the standards out there from an industry perspective. What are your peers doing? What's the expectation of your stakeholders and your shareholders out there? What is the board looking at from an audit committee perspective? And we're diving deep to make sure that you have the right infrastructure in place to kind of meet the standards that are out there from an efficiency perspective, a design perspective, and policies as well. But making sure that you're kind of holding to the latest and greatest. And we're constantly looking to challenge and making sure that you're kind of bringing in that innovation, what's next, looking to the future, not just necessarily doing what we've always done, but kind of pushing the envelope on the process side of things.
And how does Protiviti add value to clients just through internal auditing, would you say?
So oftentimes we're working with clients who are very familiar with the industry that they're in or the company or organization that they've been in for years. We have the benefit of seeing how is that specific business model, how does that show up in many different organizations that we've been seeing and working with? What are the best of the best, right? And how do we bring those practices to bear? And how do we share? We don't necessarily share any kind of intimate details of this is what so and so does company wise over here, but we say this is from an industry trend perspective. This is what we're seeing others do, and we can bring those perspectives and that knowledge and bring that into the organization to say, hey, these are what we see the best of the best doing out there, or this is what we're seeing your peers or your competitors doing, or this is what we see on the forefront that they're shooting for. So maybe they're not doing it today, but they're looking to do this for the future and they're already starting to set up that infrastructure. So I think pushing them to think ahead is how we provide the most value.
Thank you so much for sharing, Monica. Let's discuss technology audit a bit more. As Monica had mentioned, James was going to touch on that. So, James, can you share more about Protivity's technology audit segment and how that is structured?
Of course, and thank you, Monica and Emily. At Protivity, our technology audit and advisory practice focuses on helping clients manage their technology risks and improve internal controls. So we work across a few areas, such as IT governance, cybersecurity, and emerging technologies like AI and automation. For our practice, our work really falls into three primary areas: audits and assessments, compliance and regulatory, and risk and control advisory. So, for example, audit and assessments, this really involves evaluating risks and helping clients improve their technology processes. For example, we may assess key domains or areas such as applications, cybersecurity, cloud security, emerging technology. Everyone's been hearing of AI, for example, automation and data governance. As it relates to the compliance and regulatory expertise that we support our clients in maintaining compliance with a number of different industry standards. Things you may or may not have heard of, such as SOC 1 and SOC 2 readiness, ISO, NIST-CSF, GDPR, HIPAA, SOX compliance, and other regulations. So really a wide range of different compliance and regulatory requirements that are out there. And lastly, from a risk and control advisory perspective, we help our clients optimize their governance and risk management processes by either designing or implementing control frameworks, testing controls, remediating controls, and providing general risk advisory oversight. I do want to make a plug that we will be having a more in-depth session exclusively focused on our tech offerings in an upcoming TIF Talk.
And James, what type of work do we deliver in technology audit?
The work we deliver in technology audit is very much aligned with how I've just kind of outlined and segmented technology audit. It's really varied and dynamic and fundamentally all about how our clients mitigate risks and navigate the complexities of the tech landscape. So for example, I'll list a few here. IT internal control testing. That's really where we evaluate and test the effectiveness of a client's IT internal control over technology systems, confirming that those systems operate as intended. There is minimal risk of errors or fraud or non-compliance. We may do technology risk assessments, where we conduct a comprehensive risk assessment on our clients' IT infrastructure, their systems, their operations. The goal really being identifying any weakness that could expose our clients to technology-related risks. Think of things such as like data breaches, system failures, or regulatory non-compliance. Cybersecurity audits. We may evaluate the security of IT systems to determine if they're resilient against internal or external threats. That could include identifying different vulnerabilities, assessing kind of known cybersecurity controls, providing recommendations to really strengthen defenses that organizations should have. And an area of work that has been coming up more often is our emerging technology reviews. Emerging technology reviews is really around things such as like AI, automation, and blockchain. We really help organizations assess how those technologies are integrated into their operations, not only the technical feasibility, but the security and compliance aspects of it. And I'd be remiss not to mention data governance and privacy reviews that we perform as well, with just a number of data privacy regulations. As I mentioned, GDPR and CCPA. We really work with our clients to make sure that their data governance practices are robust and compliant with different laws.
And what do you find most unique about growing your career in tech audit at Protiviti?
Yeah, and I think I just listed so many different things. And to me, it's unique about growing your career in technology audit and Protiviti is just the sheer variety of work and the opportunity to engage with a wide range of clients across industries. I'm speaking from experience when I say that you're never going to be bored. One day you may be helping out a manufacturing company identify and be resilient against a cybersecurity vulnerability. And then next, you could be helping a financial services firm assess their AI governance strategy. Every single day really brings a new challenge and a chance to learn something different. I think that exposure to those different clients is really a key part of the experience, and you get to see how technology is managed and utilized across industries and across clients. And for me, that's really broadened my perspective. I also just would say that the level of collaboration you'll experience is incredibly important, especially as you continue to develop in your career, whether it's closely working with your senior leadership, working cross-functional teams and groups within Protiviti, or partnering with other experts. You're constantly learning from everyone. And the last thing I'll say is that innovation is really at the core of what we're doing. So now, like I mentioned, and continue to mention, AI is the forefront of what we do. As technology continues to evolve, we really try to stay ahead of the curve by embracing trends like AI, automation, and cybersecurity. But that combination of diverse work, technologies, and collaboration is what I believe makes Protiviti uniquely rewarding and full of growth opportunities.
Thank you, James. And next, let's discuss just the types of clients and industries that Protiviti works with. So we'll go over to Erica. Can you tell us a little bit about just the types of clients that we serve here at Protiviti?
Sure. Thanks, Emily. Our clients really run the gambit of all shapes, sizes, and industries. You may be familiar with the requirement for publicly traded companies to have an internal audit function. And just like clients vary in size, so do their audit functions. The general rule of thumb is that on average, audit functions are typically 0.5% of the employee base of any company. And while that's a broad metric, what it tells you is those lines of defense that Monica was describing, the third line is always going to be the smallest. So 1,000 employees, only 5 auditors. And what that means is from time to time, those clients need our help. Some of them, for the reason they come to Protiviti, it's a particular skill set, or they aren't a large enough function to really recruit and develop a team for a specialized kind of project. Other clients are on the larger side, all the way up to the Fortune 50. They need our help supplementing their teams because they either have open roles or they have short-term, surge requests that they weren't planning for or aren't staffed adequately for. Those companies also need subject matter expertise from time to time. So we're really providing a lot of different services across that wide range and touching all industries.
And with financial services being our largest industry, making up about 40% of our clients, can you tell us a little bit more about the variety of work that we deliver in that industry?
Sure. So obviously 40% is a big part of our client mix here at Protiviti. As you all know, financial services is a highly regulated industry, and those regulations change and come and go. And so with that means we really have a requirement to cultivate expertise in a pretty broad range of skill sets. So audit shops typically build audit plans that rotate every 3 or 4 years. And so our clients need access to resources that can really help them cover risks across the enterprise at any given point in time. So everything from some of the infrastructure and systems reviews that James was describing to business processes that run financial reporting, compliance, capital markets, customer operations. If you have a bank account, deposits, lending, the servicing team that's helping maintain your accounts. So really the entire life cycle of everything that's operating in those institutions. if you think about those, companies that you interact with, every single part of them is subject to audit at some point in that 3 to 4 year cycle. So our financial services practice, it includes even more than just the banking and capital markets. We also serve insurance clients, we serve asset management clients, and certainly the growing fintech market as well. And so all those various segments require internal audit to cover these unique risks that are part of their industry and their operation. Our work tends to be divided into a few different types of requests. So I mentioned previously the subject matter expertise is a big part of what we can bring to our clients that they don't always have. We also have more standardized co-source models, and that's where we blend our resources with the client's internal audit team, and we work hand in hand to conduct those audits with them. And then there are other requests that require Protiviti to come in and source the entire team. We refer to those as a full outsource, and that's where we're doing every single thing from planning the work to executing the work to reporting upon the work. And so clients, they need options of engaging in those different models to perform their assurance work at different, types of the year. I also mentioned that I work a lot in our advisory space. That's really more the consulting services. Audit is a business too, and so from time to time, they need consultants to help them, think through the way their business operates. And so while the audit functions are required, to audit the rest of the enterprise from time to time, it is important for them to consider things like their talent programs, their own systems that support, how audit runs, and we provide those services as well. And while we recruit heavily from campus and less experienced resources from industry, we also bring several folks in at the more experienced levels. And it's really one of my favorite things about how Protiviti operates, that we're really recruiting from across the spectrum of expertise in internal audit functions. I mentioned that I've only been with the firm 6.5 years and have previous experience in industry. And so we blend folks with industry experience with our campus hires. And I really believe it's such a differentiated kind of development and learning, because you're learning, side by side with people that have, a different background and kind of came up in industry in a different way. Our clients really expect that we're able to comment upon, how processes work at other peers. What is everybody else doing to innovate? And so that's really how we're able to, cross that client portfolio, but also bring those kind of unique and differentiated points of view.
And I'm sure it's always, like innovating and evolving. And so how do you see the role of internal audit evolving in this sector, especially with the rise of digital banking and fintech?
Yeah, well, one thing is crystal clear. The need for a strong audit function in these organizations really isn't going anywhere anytime soon. I think what we're watching happen in real time is the pace at which audit needs to be able to operate and move alongside the business has really increased. The technology is evolving, just so quickly. The business can't afford to wait for these lengthy bureaucratic governance routines to roll out a new product or, have programs that, pause and look back retroactively. They need things to operate in real time. And so we've really experienced in internal audit a compression in the way that companies want those functions to be able to get comfortable and provide the assurance that the business process has been implemented, the risk management is operating correctly, the right controls are in place around, say, a new product or service, all with this end game of being able to, put things in front of the customer base sooner and faster and better, and by the way, before the competition, right? And so audit's work is really evolving to be, a partner in that process, which is different than the traditional approach of, kind of always looking backwards. We obviously have to maintain our independence, and that's just part of how the audit functions are structured and operate, but it really, when it works well, it's designed to be, more side by side, real time feedback and operations. And for me, it's really made the work incredibly interesting when you're participating in those kinds of projects because you're, in real time able to see the benefit of the feedback to the clients.
Thank you so much for that perspective, Erica. And to round out our discussion, we've received a few questions from the audience, so we'll try to cover a couple of those with the few minutes that we have left. So let's start with what are the benefits of building an internal audit career at Protiviti? I know James mentioned his perspective of this a little bit earlier, but would love to hear both Monica and Erica's response. So if we could start with Monica. Monica, what are the benefits of building an internal audit career here at Protiviti?
Great, thank you. I think as I looked at my career coming out of college and figuring out where I wanted to be in an organization, the biggest thing I wanted to do was understand the organization from start to finish, from the front line, first line, as I mentioned earlier, operations and how you interact with the customer, all the way through governance, all the way through how are you audited and maybe looked at from a stakeholder perspective, from that board perspective. And I think internal audit gives you a unique view to be able to see all of that at a really young, early spot in your career where you can jump in and understand the full organization. You're not just looking, from the external side, you are looking at your financials and understanding the organization, but that's from the financial aspect. If you think about an organization on all of the risks that they're subject to, there's way more than just financial. And from an internal audit perspective, you get to see that operational, the compliance perspective, the tech aspect, the political aspects, and how that impacts everything. So you're really understanding all of the various impacts at a very young spot in your career. So it gives you a really good launching point. You understand the controls, and having that controls mind is really valuable no matter where you go in an organization. Carrying that with you and understanding how a process works, what's the risks in that process, and what are the controls in that process. That's how you boil it down. Everything you do boils down to risks and controls within an organization. So having the top side view of how it works, and then understanding from a detailed perspective the risks and controls in each and every process, having that mindset really launches you well into any aspect, no matter where you want to go within an organization or outside. Starting an internal audit gives you a great foundation.
Erica?
Yeah, I completely agree with Monica. I spoke a little bit earlier about the blended recruiting model and just the huge benefits I see for the development of our folks and how that differs really from some of the previous organizations I was a part of. I think the other piece is just the variety of different clients that we support at different, points in their audit programs and in their life cycle. So you get to kind of see different stages of a business process. You get to do work in, different parts of the organization. And it really affords our folks a chance to work, not only with some of the most premier organizations in the business, but also some that are brand new and just trying to figure it out. And there can be just as much, development and experience in working with, clients that are on different sides of the maturity continuum. I've always thought that doing internal audit work in a client service firm was like being a temporary employee almost. You get to work at so many different organizations and be embedded in their teams, but then you also get to kind of finish that work and come home and then try, a different organization. And it really, for me, it was part of what brought me back to client service. After I was in industry, I got to, experience, there's just no replacing the variety that we see on a day-to-day basis across our clients. And, at the end of it, Protiviti has its own culture, its own structure, its own report, approach to things. And so you just get the benefit of seeing that, but also experiencing at your clients.
Thank you. And I think we have time for one more question, but I would like each of your perspectives on this last one as well. And we'll start with you, Monica, or I'm sorry, with Erica. What is something that you can share with prospective candidates that they might not know about Protiviti?
Oh my gosh, I feel like you saved the hardest one for last. I think we get compared to the Big Four in an awful lot of different forums. And I know, when I was a prospective candidate, I was certainly, curious about that comparison because I had previously worked at a Big Four. obviously our size isn't quite as large as those competitors that we work with, and our firm isn't nearly as old. But there are some benefits to that because I really have seen in real time us just being more nimble in the way we operate, in the way we make decisions, in the way we react to the market. I heard a colleague who recently joined describe us as Goldilocks, and I thought that was just the perfect analogy. We're just the right size. We're also a subsidiary of a larger organization in Robert Half, and so it's a little bit of a unique business model with a parent company. But in my mind, this provides us all the benefits of this massive organization without having to operate, day to day in some of that bureaucracy. It also gives us additional staffing levers to pull, when we take on big jobs with clients or we have unique needs that aren't, completely aligned to what we do on a day-to-day basis. We're able to scale, overnight, and our competitors have to, contract a third party to do that. So I think it's a really cool part of the way that we're organized. We're also not an external audit firm. So we have many of the same consulting practice offerings, but we don't have the conflicts that you have to navigate as an external audit firm. And so for me, it's just been the perfect fit and scale to do all the things that I enjoy about this work.
Thank you. Let's go with Monica.
I'll pivot off of what Erica said. Agreed completely with her comment on Goldilocks. I love that description of us. But I would also say our culture, we're super collaborative. I do feel as though I come from Anderson, so probably dating myself, but that work-life balance seemed to be almost in a something very difficult to nail down. We work hard. Like, we definitely don't work a 40-hour work week. We'll put in more time and do strive to, make sure that we're doing the right thing and delivering on our deadlines. But it is manageable, and we're doing it with families. Most of us have supported families that we are also very invested in and spend time in. So we have the benefit of being able to do a little bit of both, right? We're working hard, learning great things, being exposed to wonderful new client challenges and investing in that from a career perspective, but also have that ability to pivot and spend. We don't have a one season that we would say we're busy and out of pocket for long periods of time. Like, we do have a consistency throughout the year where we're able to kind of plug into the family and personal side. So for me, that's kind of the Goldilocks moment for me. It's the best of both those worlds being able to balance, at least on my end.
And then James, if you can share.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree absolutely with everything that Erica and Monica said. And, Monica quickly mentioned a little bit about the culture as well. And I think, to me, Protiviti embodies its mission, which is we care, we collaborate, and we deliver. And there's so many times at Protiviti where I find myself comfortable being genuine and authentic. And I think that's very important. And I just want to make sure that everyone knows about that. I would just say one thing is that, one thing that has really helped me, and especially early on in my career, has been our employee network group. We have 12 of those at Protiviti. Some of them focus on experienced hires, women, military veterans, or multicultural backgrounds. They're open and available to all employees. And it might be something you don't know about Protiviti, but for me, it's really created a strong sense of community, and being part of that has really helped me learn, gain a wide range of perspectives, adding to both my professional and personal growth.
Thank you so much, James, and to our other panelists. And for all of you for attending today, we hope that you enjoyed the session and can join us for our upcoming TIV Talk, Transitioning to Internal Audit, a New Career Chapter, and Innovative Careers in Technology Audit, Pioneering Practices and Future Trends. If you're interested in opportunities with Protiviti, we encourage you to visit our career site, view our open positions, or join our talent community to be notified first about future opportunities. Thanks again and have a great day.